Hey guys, OG Albino here, and today I have a different kind of video for you. Today's going to be a little more of a discussion video pertaining to the Pokemon Darkrai. Now, if you guys have been a part of the Draft League community for a while, Darkrai has been a major point of contention for a lot of leagues, ranging all the way back to Generation 7, but especially in Gen 8, and I think if it ends up getting added to the Gen 9 decks, it'll be something similar, in the idea of, is this Pokemon allowable in a Draft League setting? There's been plenty of leagues that have tried Darkrai, tried Complex Band Darkrai. I've seen no Nasty Plot Darkrai, no Calm Mind Darkrai, things like that allowed in Gen 7 and 8. And back then, I personally do think that it was a little bit broken. But the question is this generation, is it the same? Is Darkrai still broken in the Paldea decks? If I took Darkrai and I threw it into the current metagame we have right now, would it be so broken that we needed to ban it? And today, I'm going to be giving you guys probably bullet points and arguments for both sides. I'll let you guys know my opinion at the end of the video, and I want you guys in the comments to let me know, do you think Darkrai would be allowable in a Gen 9 Draft League metagame? If you guys do enjoy these more theory mod discussion type videos, please be sure to drop a like on the video as well as subscribe to the channel. Let me know you enjoy them. Help us out in reaching our 3K goal by the end of the year. And yeah, with that being said, we can kind of jump into it. If you see me looking off to the sides, because I prepared some notes and things like that so that I can, talk about these things and not just completely ramble and, not have the right things to say. But I first wanted to talk about why Darkrai is good, why it's great, and some consider obviously broken in previous gens and things like that. First up is going to be this speed stat right here, obviously. 125 base speed. And if we insert this into the Paldea decks, we hit 383 at our max speed with Timid Nature. Let's go ahead and sort by speed in a Nat Dex, or in a Paldea Dex meta. So let's see. We obviously get outsped by a good amount of things. Again, we have Pokemon like Regieleki. This is banned, obviously. The Electrode's banned. It gets outsped by Pult, but it can't check Pult defensively decently well. It gets outsped by Bundle, and it gets outsped by, we're at 125, right? Not 130, yeah. Gets outsped by Chien Pao, and Flutter Mane if your league for some reason allows that. Spectre outspeeds. Then mons like Jolteon, Talonflame, Kilowattrel, these ones you tie with, but really, above Meowscarada, you outspeed the entire metagame, right? The entire metagame without a Scarf. You are going to be able to outspeed. And speed is an incredible tool in draft. If you can move first, typically you can control interactions, especially with a Pokemon like Darkrai, that is also incredibly strong. Base 135 special attack is also very powerful. With Timid Nature, we hit 369, but there's going to be plenty of matchups in this slower meta where you can go modest and hit 405 special attack, not considering any kind of boosting items or boosting your own stats or anything like that. So this thing is very strong on top of incredible coverage. We're just going to scroll through. Obviously, we have Dark Pulse for our main stab option, but then we can go through, we can go ahead and see, we have Focus Blast as an option, we have Ice Beam, we have Knockoff as great utility, or on mixed sets, could be okay. I mean, 90 base attack isn't terrible. On top of that, having Drain Punch and Swords Dance, you have access to Nasty Plot to boost up your special attack. You have access to Shadow Ball, which is a great coverage move. Sludge Bomb, you might not have access to Spatial Rend anymore, depending on how, events move and things like that, but you have access to Spatial Rend. You can Taunt, you can Thunderbolt, you can do a ton of things offensively. Again, just like that combination of Dark Pulse, there we go, Sludge Bomb, Ice Beam, Thunderbolt, or Focus Blast, or all these moves, there's never going to be a matchup where you can't hit everything you need to hit. There simply isn't. And on top of that, we have great utility moves, and we can go ahead and take a look at them. Category. Status. Let's go ahead and look. We have access to both Calm Mind and Nasty Plot, and there are matchups where both are viable. I'll kind of talk about why here in a second. You have access to Taunt, a very fast Taunt. You can Thunder Wave and Will-O-Wisp. You had Toxic in previous generations. I think if it came back, it probably would not have Toxic anymore. Even a random Fast Haze, Sub-Disable could be pretty cool. Who knows? Hypnosis, Blunder Policy Hypnosis sets are definitely viable as well. You can even SD. You can even Trick if you're a Specs fan, and there's that Spadef wall, that Blissey that's there. Instead of going mixed, you can just run Trick Specs and Trick it to Specs and make it useless. And this with Torment even is pretty cool. You probably just want to run Sub-Disable at that point anyways, but this Pokemon has great utility options as well. Again, all of this status, access to Taunt, can set up in multiple fashions, on top of great coverage and serviceable bulk. 70, 90, 90 is not bulky. That's not what I'm saying. So nobody say, oh, it thinks Darkrai is bulky. I don't think it's bulky. But this is not a stat spread in which you are not going to find opportunities to Calm Mind and Nasty Plot, especially if you know how to EV properly and things like that. There's probably not going to be many matchups where you need to be max speed, max special attack. So because of that, you can usually afford a lot of bulk in the Draft League format, and you can go ahead and set up. Resist barriers are great, obviously. You can rock out with leftovers variants. And again, very, very strong. So whether it be in like a setup win con fashion, or whether it be in just a breaker with like a life orb or specs, this Pokemon is very, very good offensively. Incredibly good. Also, the pure dark typing is not bad at all. Obviously, losing out on like a secondary stab is bad offensively for a lot of darks, but like the pure dark typing defensively is not that bad. You're weak to fighting, which you don't have psychic. You do have psychic, so you have that for fighting, which is also pretty cool. You don't get fairy moves right now. You're weak to psychic, you're weak to fairy, which are fighting, fairy, and bug, which you have coverage for other than bug, and bug isn't a super common typing. It's not like bugs resist dark, obviously, and I'm sure I'm missing a type that dark is weak to, but the main point is that dark isn't a typing that is just latent with a bunch of weaknesses. It's not like having a pure rock typing, you know what I mean? It's still decently solid. So there are plenty of options to set up, plenty of options to get in. You have immunities in psychic as well, so you can get in on, you know, moves that you're immune to, which is a very valuable tool for offensive Pokemon, is having immunities to find options, or find, you know, the position to switch it. Now we can talk about why leagues sometimes end up allowing Darkrai. The first of which is sometimes things just want to get shaked up. Especially in Generation 8, I feel like towards the end of the generation, I saw a lot of Darkrai's allowed, solely to kind of shake things up, you know, figure, you know, hey, is this thing actually broken? We haven't tried it yet, etc., etc. Nothing too crazy, right? But mostly, I feel like some people believe that Power Crept has progressed to the point that Darkrai isn't as good as some of the Pokemon that we currently allow. And I think in Generation 8, I think I would disagree. But there's much more of an argument this generation, especially in its own typing. The dark typing has become so crazy offensively, and there's some really, really strong dark types. In particular, Pokemon like Chien-Pao and Chi-Yu, which are Pokemon that we do allow. Now, the reason I think Pokemon like Chien-Pao are pretty comparable, right, is because they're both very similarly fast and similar in, you know, base attacking stats. So we're gonna run some calcs next to each other. I'm gonna go ahead and adjust this a little bit just so you guys can see the screen a little bit more. Okay, there we go. Okay, so we're gonna go Darkrai. I'm gonna make it Life Orb. Let's give it Thunderbolt. I'm gonna pick naturally bulky, like neutral targets, right? And I'm gonna make them Fizdef and Spadef to show why they're somewhat comparable, these Pokemon. So we're gonna have Darkrai. We're gonna look up Toxapex, right? Just a generally bulky Pokemon. Nothing like that outright walls Darkrai, but just generally bulky. Let's go Calm. You can see Life Orb Thunderbolt is doing 48 to 52. That's a lot of damage. You're 2-hit KOing Spadef Pex very easily. You can also set up on Pex is another big thing. You can nasty pawn on it pretty freely. But then let's go ahead and check a Pokemon like Chien-Pao. Let's make it also Life Orb. I know Life Orb isn't like a standard on Chien-Pao, but I'm giving them similar items. I don't want to give them specs and bands because I feel like that kind of inflates the numbers just a little bit. Max attack. Boom. Now, we see that Darkrai is immensely stronger. However, there is a big difference here. I know the numbers say like, okay, Darkrai, good amount more damage, but you have to keep in mind that is a Life Orb super effective move versus a Life Orb neutral move from Chien-Pao. If we take this and we make it Psychic Fangs, things get a little bit different, right? Now we're 2-hit KOing Pex on the Fizdef side. Pex also has more physical bulk, and Chien-Pao is just raw 2-hit KOing it with a Life Orb. It's pretty comparable in strength, in my opinion. Chien-Pao is also much, much faster. Now, where I think that Darkrai has an advantage over Chien-Pao is in the move pool. It has an immensely better move pool, whether it be utility-wise or offensively. But Chien-Pao is such a strong Pokemon overall that it doesn't really need any coverage moves outside of the moves that it already has access to. So I really do think that these Pokemon are incredibly, incredibly comparable when it comes to their offensive output in a lot of instances. We can even look at a Pokemon like Clefable. Not in the dex right now, but in general, in the dex a lot. Like hell, 252 with a bold nature into Chien-Pao. Let's see. And let's give this thing Icicle. Icicle Crash. There you go, Owen. Icicle Crash is 2-hit killing Clef. Just raw with a Life Orb. This Pokemon is incredibly strong. And again, keep in mind, Chien-Pao is not a Pokemon that is traditionally banned. It is Terra banned, and we'll talk about Darkrai and Terra soon. Don't worry, that's not something I'm going to skip over. This is not a Pokemon that is banned in most leagues. This is a Pokemon that is allowed in most leagues. Maybe in 8-Mon it's banned, but in traditional draft leagues, Chien-Pao is allowed pretty much everywhere. Now we're going to look at Darkrai. We're going to go ahead and give it Sludge Bomb. Go ahead and make it Max Spadef. Oh. Those are very similar damage outputs. Very, very similar damage outputs. And that is to max defense versus max Spadef. So I'm not kind of like, you know, messing with the numbers and things like that. This damage output is very, very similar. We're going to look at a Pokemon like Chi-Yu now. Now, I think Darkrai would be much better than Chi-Yu. I actually lean maybe even Chien-Pao being better than Darkrai, or like very, very comparable. I do think that Darkrai would be better than Chi-Yu. But I would like you to see Timid Flamethrower, right? Tickle Fable, Max Spadef does a good amount. Fire Blast is a 2-hit KO. A neutral attack is a 2-hit KO on Spadef Clef. Whereas a Pokemon like Darkrai is 2-hit killing with its super effective Life Orb coverage move. This is not boosting item Chi-Yu. So this Pokemon is stronger than Darkrai. It is just stronger. With its ability and the same special attack, it is a stronger Pokemon than Darkrai. So it begs the question, is Darkrai much worse than these Pokemon? It's pretty crazy to see the difference between these calcs. Like, I am actually... It's pretty crazy when you put the numbers to perspective and things like that. Obviously, very, very much so slower and much more easily revenged, but it has that crazy dual step, and it has more raw breaking potential, whereas Chien-Pao has more speed, similar power, and probably more endgame win con potential with its dual priority options. So really, really interesting. Even outside of these two, we have Pokemon like King Gambit that are obviously incredible offensively with Terra and things like that. Again, I think Darkrai would be better. But we have other Pokemon that are debatably better than Darkrai in our metagame right now that we allow. Dragapult is debatably better. It is faster. It is faster and has a similarly amazing move pool. It is weaker than Darkrai. It's definitely not going to break, but having that 142 speed tier opposed to 125 is pretty damn valuable. Iron Valiant is another Pokemon that is incredibly, incredibly strong and has great win con potential, great offensive coverage, and very, very similar stats, like in its offensive nature, 120 and 130 opposed to just the 135 right here, but it's much more versatile and it has that endgame win con potential with like booster energy speed and things like that. So again, I'm not even like showing these Pokemon, sorry. There are Pokemon that are debatably better than Darkrai now. Palafin, if you're allowed to Terra your Palafin, it might be better than Darkrai. If you're allowed to Terra your Bundle, it might be better than Darkrai. Now, I don't think that Darkrai would be allowable with Terra. I think if you allowed Darkrai to Terra, it would get out of hand very, very quickly. However, I think after looking at these calcs, if Darkrai was in the Paldea Dex right now, I think if it was Terra banned, and we're allowing Pokemon like Chien-Pao and Dragapult and all these Pokemon, I think that it's allowable. This might be a hot take. I don't know, because I also saw a lot of leagues allowing it last gen. I really do think that it is very much so allowable and not broken this light. I don't know. I could be crazy, but that's my take on it. I wanted to get some replays of this from like UDL, because I know UDL is a really, really high competition, high skill league. Allowed it in Gen 8, but I wasn't able to get replays from it beforehand. Shuckle and Kaz said they were going to pass some. They probably just forgot, to be completely honest. For the next video like this, I'll try and get some replays to showcase them in the Draft League format. Let me know what you guys think about Darkrai in the comments below. Let's have a discussion. Let me know why you think it's broken and I'm an idiot for saying it should be allowed, or why it's not broken, or anything like that. And let me know what Pokemon you'd like for me to discuss next, which topic you'd like for me to discuss next. I'd like to do more of these like theory, like, okay, but what if this was in Draft League? What if this was allowed? What if this wasn't allowed? Things like that. I think it's a lot of fun. And yeah, again, thank you guys so much for watching. Big shouts to this month's channel members, which are going to be, oh my gosh, nice and prepared, OG Albina. We have our channel members in Odds Are, Thriller, Matrix, Vic, Goosefart, Zeke, Olivia Sama, and D-Double. Big shouts to all you guys. If you want to become a member, you can join. Click the little join button down there. Drop a like if you enjoyed. Sub if you're new, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.